Welcome to the show, guys. I am super excited. This is the first fantasy football mock draft of 2022, walking you through the first 4 rounds in detail. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people do mock drafts. Well, I'm not actually watching other people's videos, but what I'm doing is I'm looking at YouTube. I see videos come up, and I just clicked on a few, and I saw some people doing some mock drafts, some experts doing some mock drafts, and I'm telling you, I'm not liking the way that it's seen. People drafting Cooper Kupp with their top 4 pick and advising other people to do so as well. This is not good advice, okay? Now, Cooper Kupp could have a good year, but I've talked about how he's possibly going to decline significantly this year based on last year's amazing astronomical pinnacle 191 target season, right? So, guys, pump the brakes here. I don't listen to anybody else, and I don't suggest you either as well because, again, it's good to get other opinions, but don't follow their advice. It's double wide receiver early strategy. Like, that's BS. We know it's BS. It's been BS every single year. Drafting Devontae Adams round 1. He's on a new team right now, guys. Like, it makes zero sense. New team, new offense. Waller's there. Renfro. Waller peaked at 145 targets last year, okay? Or in 2020 when he was having a good year. And Renfro peaked at 128 targets. Adams thrived at 169 targets, all right? With Rodgers. How is he going to thrive? He needs 169 targets to be a top 4 or 5 receiver, right? So a lot of people are just jumping on Adams thinking he's going to be the same Adams from last year. Maybe he will, but I really doubt it. So today, guys, anyway, there's a lot of explanation on why I'm avoiding certain players. That's not what this episode's about. I'm going to walk you through the first 4 rounds of this mock draft. If you guys want the full mock draft, you want to see me analyze, dive in, sleepers, breakouts, everything laid out to you properly and done right so you guys actually win your leagues and you actually get good advice, head on over to thefantasyfootballcouncil.com and get that 16-round draft solution. Guys, use promo code, guys, very simple, TUBE20, TUBE 20, save yourself 20%. I walk through mock drafts once each month, one in June, one in July, one in August, and I give you the exact solution on how to draft the optimal roster as bulletproof as possible. So get 16 rounds, all right? So let's dive into this mock draft. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe. Now, I am using the Concheapsis simulator here. That's the best way to do it sometimes. You got to use the Concheapsis stuff to see what the sheepsis are doing, and then you guys could, figure out how to get around it, okay? So we are drafting first overall here. So the big question comes all the time. Who do you draft first overall? That's a big question, but understand, guys, your first overall pick shouldn't make or break you, but you got to make the best possible decision because if it's in a 12-person league, it's going to take you, 24 picks to come back. So you got to understand, right? You got to make the best possible decision, and the best possible decision is getting the best running back available because that's the most scarce position. There's only like 8 or 9 running backs that aren't in committees. So the big decision comes, I immediately go to running backs if I'm drafting early. Now, what's ludicrous here, and again, I'm walking you through the first 4 rounds. People are saying, well, Joe, why aren't you doing the full mock draft? For me to explain every single player and every single round in the detail that I do it, it's a 5-hour show. Now, some people say, well, I don't mind watching. If you guys want every round, get 16 rounds, guys. Use code TUBE20, save yourself 20%. I'll walk through every round in detail. It's a long process. But, guys, so we're talking first overall pick. Now, I'm going to make my pick here. But, again, you got to take a look at the candidates here, right? You look at Jonathan Taylor, coming off an astronomical year. Is he going to duplicate? Very possible. If there's anyone that's going to do it, it's going to be Taylor. Love the youth. Love the talent, love the opportunity. I love Taylor this year, and I'm definitely considering him, but I got to factor in a possible regression. Christian McCaffrey's only played 10 games in the past 2 seasons, totally different offense than the one that was there when he thrived years ago. I don't trust Christian McCaffrey, and here's the deal, and I've talked about this before. If you go Christian McCaffrey, you might as well get Saquon round 2. It's the exact same player, right? They've both had their plagues of injuries. It's just, talent-wise, I think Saquon is a little bit more agile, a little bit better, a little bit more explosive. But, it's pretty much the same player. They both don't have any committees, right? They've both been injured in the past. So I'm going to, we'll talk about Saquon later, but I'm fading Christian McCaffrey. I could be wrong. Could have a great year. Austin Eckler, again, he doesn't get it done on the ground enough for me. They drafted Isaiah Spiller. I think Spiller's going to be a thorn. Najee, I do like. I think the volume is there. The only thing that's suspect is Kenny Pickett going to be starting? I think that'll help him. I don't think Mitch Trubisky will. I think there'll be less checkdowns, less receptions for Najee Harris, so I got to factor that in. Dalvin Cook is being offered here, guys. Dalvin Cook, has not finished the season, and he's guaranteed to miss 2 or 3 games, 100%. So just for the fact that I'm not drafting him first overall. Now, we've got Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Swift, our other Sheep's offerings here. I'm simply going to go Derrick Henry because he was putting top 10 numbers. Listen to this, guys. He only played 8 games. He was top 10 in touchdowns and top 10 in attempts, and I believe rushing as well. Go look it up. This guy was putting top 10 numbers up, and he only played 8 games compared to other running backs, and he still got it done. I'm looking for a bounce back from Derrick Henry, so I'm going to probably consider him. Now, again, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer here. I think it just comes down to, the research that you've done, which I've just kind of given you some research on that first overall pick. So I'm going to roll with Derrick Henry here with my first overall pick. Easily could be Jonathan Taylor. I also like Najee Harris. Those are my 3 guys that I like as a first overall pick. So let's roll with Derrick Henry. And never, ever, ever, guys, when you're doing a fantasy football mock draft or even a reality draft, follow what the consensus do. Because, again, they're recommending Austin Eckler. I just not drafting Austin Eckler, top 3 pick. All right, so let's recap the first round and the second, and we're going to pick our second pick here. Now, if you are listening in the car, we are doing a simulation here. We drafted first overall, and everybody's seeing it visually, and I'm basically going over every single player that was being drafted in the first 4 rounds in detail. Okay, this is very, very comprehensive, very, very detailed. So I went with Derrick Henry predicated on a bounce back season, which I think is very, very possible and very, very viable. So I like Derrick Henry, tons of volume, tons of opportunity. And as you're noticing, guys, in the first round, and I've been doing a ton of mock drafts, and I explained this in 16-round draft solution, a lot of running backs come off in the first round because, again, people are catching on to the counselor's ways and catching on to the truth that running backs is a very scarce position. You got to load up on that position very, very early. So as you can see here, guys, it's pretty much laid out here. Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris coming in with the 6th pick, Cooper Kupp 7th, DeAndre Swift 8th, Adams 9th, Dalvin Cook 10, Justin Jefferson, and Javonte Williams coming in at 10. Now, let's talk about this first round. Again, I went Derrick Henry, bounce back. Christian McCaffrey, I explained that situation. Jonathan Taylor, possible regression coming. Austin Eckler, just the volume isn't there. I think Spiller is going to be a bit of a thorn. Joe Mixon, I like the value at the end of the first round a little bit more. Joe Mixon's a guy, played several years, I think 4 or 5 years now, and he only had 1 anomaly year. I mean, he had I think he had a good year in 2018 where he kind of peaked. Now, the offense I like, and I still think there's some upside with him finally now, simply predicated on the fact that they've got Jamar Chase, they've got some weapons, distracting the defenses, opening things up for Mixon. I still like Mixon. I'm just a little bit, suspect in regards to, was that an anomaly year for him? So that's something you got to be cautious about, okay? Najee Harris here, again, I explained him, tons of volume, tons of opportunity. The only thing that's knocking him right now is the fact that, quarterback, rookie, Mitch Trubisky, not sure, uncertain, no Big Ben. And again, I don't think this is going to be a factor, but the guy was out partying in Mexico getting what sounded, I can't say for sure, but he looked like he was drunk. He has been partying quite a bit. I don't know how that's going to factor in. I still think he's got good work ethic. I still think he'll do well. I'm not even going to consider that as a big issue right now with the partying. And you're like, Joe, he's got to have fun. I get it, but he's out in Mexico zooming in on chicks via camera. It was on his live story. I don't think you'll see it anymore. He was pretty drunk, zooming in on multiple chicks. He was at the DJ booth, zooming in on the floor, just being drunk. And again, it's okay to have fun, but I don't know, I thought it was just a weird, creepy video. But either way, DeAndre Swift here coming in at number 8. Again, I'm not sold on Swift. Not a big volume guy on the Lions. Just do not trust this offense at all. I'm not drafting a first-round pick there. Now, again, we see Cooper Kupp. Sorry, going back here to 7. Cooper Kupp, I talked about it, right? Just because he finished first overall last year does not mean he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver off the board this year. Things are going to change. Jamar Chase could surpass him. Christian Watson, a rookie, could even surpass him. Devontae Adams is gone. Maybe Rodgers makes Christian Watson the wide receiver 1. Things are going to change. We're saying, Joe, that's crazy. You're nuts. And I know that people in the comments are going to be diving in and saying, well, Joe, you're nuts. How could you say that, Christian Watson? Hey, I'm getting him for value. I'm getting him for a steal. Okay, that's deeper rounds, right? Whether he busts or not, I don't care. I'm getting Aaron Rodgers, potential top 1 receiver for value. And that's a whole other episode when we're talking sleepers, all right? So back to the first round here. Cooper Kupp just not going to do it. Devontae Adams just not going to do it. These guys are being drafted at 1 and 2, simply predicated on last year, and it's a totally different animal now. Again, Cooper Kupp coming off this anomaly year. Devontae Adams, new team, new offense, new quarterback with his wide receivers already set, and Renfrow and Waller. Again, Waller peaked at 145 targets in 2020. Renfrow peaked at 128 targets. They're still there. In comes Adams, who demands 169 targets for him to be a top receiver, to have him finished as a top 2, top 3 receiver. I don't see it happening. And I'm not sold on Derek Carr. Derek Carr is the most overrated quarterback in the history of quarterbacks. They actually think he's good. They re-signed him, even though he's done nothing over the past couple of years. I think he's taken him to the first round of wild card playoffs, and I think he's lost both. He hasn't won a playoff game since they started. I think when did he start? 2015, 14, 16, something like that. Carr sucks, okay? I'm not sold on Adams. Dalvin Cook hasn't finished the season. Justin Jefferson coming in at number 11, and number 12, Javonte Williams. Now, Javonte Williams, would I consider him late first round? Very possible. I want to talk about Javonte Williams here. Javonte Williams, okay, concerns me because of Melvin Gordon, right? Melvin Gordon sucks, but he's good enough to hoard the volume away. We saw an exact split in volume last year, so 203 to 203. That's a bit of a concern, even though they want to make, from what we're seeing, Javonte Williams as the one. I'm still a little concerned in regards to volume. And again, Javonte Williams saying he doesn't care that Melvin Gordon's back. He's ready to be a team player, yada, yada. I don't believe it. I think it's BS that Javonte Williams is going to get the full volume, right? I'm not sold. And I don't think a lot of people are expecting that. But what I'm saying is if he's coming off in the first round, don't be upset if it looks like it does last year. And that's something you got to consider. So if you go Javonte Williams round 1, which is where he's going at the end of round 1, make sure you double up with another running back there so that you're secure with your RB1, even though Williams may or may not, may boom or bust, okay? Or he won't bust, but he'll just be very safe at best. So that's a bit of a risk. Okay, so that's your round 1. And again, some of the guys here mentioned round 2 are going to be coming up in round 1. So round 2 here, guys. I see Jamar Chase coming off. I actually like him. I think he only peaked at 128 targets last year. I still think he has a big ceiling. I like him. Stephon Diggs is as solid as they come. As you can see, this idiot's going Jefferson and Diggs. Now, I like Jefferson, but I think Thielen's going to be more of a factor this year. He was at the beginning of last season. Got injured at the end of the season. I still think Thielen could be the wide receiver 1 there, as crazy as it sounds. Jefferson had 2 pinnacle years. What goes up must come down. Could it be an injury for Jefferson this year? Either way, I'm not going wide receiver round 1, so I'm not going to draft him to find out, okay? So we got Stephon Diggs here coming off early round 2 at the 202. Deebo Samuel, again, I don't understand. They've got him ranked in the top 10. This is a guy that I gotta hammer this home here. And again, nobody's talking like this. I've been watching a couple of mock draft videos. Nobody's diving into this deep analysis. They're just saying draft Cooper Kupp, just draft Deebo Samuel round 1 and 2. It hurts my head. It's hard to deal with seeing this BS content out there because I'm looking at Cooper Kupp. I'm seeing a decline. And last year, Robert Woods was ranked ahead of him. Last year, guys, Brandon Ayuk was ranked ahead of Deebo, and Deebo was on my podcast. So if you are subscribed to this podcast, you would have saw the interview with Deebo Samuel. I had him on my show. Just look up Fantasy Football Accounts with Deebo Samuel. You'll find the video. This was before the season. And I stated that Deebo Samuel is better. I didn't say it to him exactly like that, but I told him he was the wide receiver 1. I believed in him, right? So you look at Deebo Samuel, who peaked last year, and now he's having contract issues at the time of this recording, and he had 8 rushing touchdowns. He's not even a running back, right? He's a wide receiver, so he was using so many different plays with Elijah Mitchell getting hurt, and they're still drafting him the same way. It blows my mind, guys. Deebo Samuel, I'm not touching in round 1 or round 2, okay? Then I see Tyreek Hill coming off. Now, this guy crying, whatever his name is, Jordan Howard's, it's just a name that's put in there through the simulation in this mock draft. Drafted Devontae Adams at 109, and then 204 went back-to-back Tyreek Hill. Adams and Tyreek Hill, both predicated on last year. Guys, this is absolutely crazy. You're drafting based on last year, which is absolutely crazy. I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to me because Tyreek Hill's on a new offense, suspect quarterback with Tua. They've got their wide receiver 1 there with Jalen Waddle. He was their wide receiver 1. He's still there, right? So Tyreek Hill, you guys are acting like he's got this rapport with Tua, it's Pat Mahomes 2.0. And they're still drafting Tyreek Hill as if he's going to repeat last year's numbers. And Tyreek Hill, to begin with, is a very volatile player. Go look at his stat sheet game to game. He's got 4 or 5 dud games there where he's not even a wide receiver 3. So Tyreek Hill's a fade for me in the early rounds. Then you've got this guy going Alvin Kamara, who could face a possible suspension for having an assault charge or whatever it was, allegation. So, Alvin Kamara is a bit of a concern for me for a possible suspension, but if he plays, should be good talent. Now, Travis Kelce makes some sense to me here in the second round, actually, because Tyreek Hill gone. I'm not really big on tight ends early, but Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews actually kind of make some sense to me in the second round this year because they're going to perform. They're volume getters. There's no other wide receivers there that could really dip into the volume. Now, we don't know what the Chiefs. They drafted Sky Moore. They've got Juju there. They've got Mecole Hardman possibly stepping up. But Travis Kelce's that safe, reliable target for Mahomes with Tyreek gone. Look for Kelce to probably see an increase in volume, and he's consistent as they come. He's Iron Man, right? Knock on wood. So Kelce, he kind of makes sense to me. I'm not big on tight ends early, okay? Then Leonard Fournette comes off, which I don't understand this whole Leonard Fournette fascination. He had a good year last year, but he's on a team that spreads the ball around with the Buccaneers. They've got a committee there. I'm just staying away, personally, especially in the second round. James Conner, again, I'm not sold on him being sensational. Had a lot of touchdowns last year, finished near the top, so he's coming off near the top. CeeDee Lamb, I kind of like this a little bit because I think, with Amari Cooper gone, CeeDee Lamb could have a good year. I like him. But again, always suspect with going wide receivers early. Keenan Allen, obviously, Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I kind of like him as well. Mark Andrews, I like because, again, Lamar has no other wide receiver to throw to, so he kind of makes sense to me. But the other guys, again, they don't make sense to me. So we're up on the pick now. That's a lot of explanation. Again, I told you I'd dive in. It's a deep dive here, okay? So let's go with our second pick here. Now, again, I'm looking at running backs here because, again, they're very scarce. Now, here's the cool thing, okay? Let's look at who's available here at the end of round 2. Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, which Aaron Jones could have a good year with Adams being gone. Very possible. But, again, it's Aaron Jones, and they've got Dillon there. And Dillon saw an uptick in volume last year. So, again, you guys can see that I'm just not picking just to pick on ADP. I'm looking at the situation. Go back and look it up. I challenge you. Aaron Jones is good, and again, he could see an uptick. So I'm considering the fact that Adams is gone, and you could see an increase in receptions. Very possible. He's Mr. Reliable, but he doesn't get the volume done, and Dillon does. So Dillon outdid him last year in attempts. Go look it up. A.J. Dillon stepped up last year, got more volume. So maybe I'd rather get Dillon later. Maybe. Nick Chubb, years to wild, now out. He was a top 5, top 6 running back pick last year. Busted. Go look it up. Busted. Okay, Kareem Hunt's there. And Kareem Hunt was hurt last year, and Nick Chubb still busted based on ADP. Pretty sad. Now, Saquon Barkley is saying, Joe, how could you draft Saquon Barkley here, which I'm going to do, okay? How could you draft him? Well, first of all, I'm getting an RB1, coming 2 years removed from his injury, contract year, improved O-line, right? And he was preserved simply for this year. So I was off by a year. I thought it would be last year. This is the year for Saquon Barkley. And I'm getting like a Christian McCaffrey. This guy's going to be Christian McCaffrey in fantasy points this year. I'm telling you right now, and I'm getting him for a steal in round 2. Give me him all day. I just gave you those reasons. Now, it's coming back to me here. I could look at a running back here and check out the running backs that are available here if I want to get one. Let's see who's available at round 3 here. Okay? 301. Aaron Jones, like I said, Nick Chubb, don't care. Cam Akers is kind of like a boomer bust. He never really got going. I think the talent is there. I think the opportunity is there. I think the Rams have like a hangover this year, Super Bowl-wise. We'll see. But, he total boomer bust. David Montgomery, new coaching, Fields is in there, quarterback. They didn't really address the wide receiver position. I think Mooney's good. I still think, Montgomery has some injuries. He had some injuries in the past. I think he's safe in round 3, to be honest, but a little suspect. Gibson, I'm not touching. McKissick's there. Josh Jacobs, again, they drafted a rookie running back. I don't know, man. I think Jacobs in round 3 is fair, but again, just hasn't been explosive, hasn't been exciting. Elliott, he's been going down every single year over the past 3 years. Pollard's been a factor, but round 3, for a guy that always pretty much, even on a decline, finishes top 10, I'm tempted to go either Zeke here or Breece Hall. Now, the problem with Breece Hall is volume and the suspect offense, right? So a lot of people hyped up on Breece Hall, and I am too, but I'm telling you, similar to the way I said Javonte Williams, Melvin could be a pest. It's boomer safe. I still think it's the same with Breece Hall. I think it's either really boom or really, really safe and boring. And for a third-round pick, I would definitely consider him. As you can see, he's lower on the ADP, but I like Breece Hall more than I like Antonio Gibson and Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones because I think he's got more of a ceiling. So see how he's laid lower here on the ADP, on the consensus? This is where I would think a third-round reach is safe because if you don't get him here, he's not coming around. Okay, so let's not get Breece Hall. Let's experiment with this and see if he comes around at the end of round 4. Okay, so we'll see. We're going to come back. And we'll end it off to see who's available. Let's see who else is available at the beginning of round 3. Now, wide receivers. Again, this is why I say wait on wide receiver because A.J. Brown means nothing to me. He's on Philly. Devontae Smith is there. I think Hurts has a good year, but is the volume going to be there to make A.J. Brown a top 10 wide receiver? Very unlikely at the mainstream have him top 10. Mike Evans is always safe, but again, Brady throws the ball around. Deontay Johnson, I still love. Problem is, new offense, right? Is he going to get the volume? I see a regression of volume without Big Ben there. I love the talents, but again, we don't know. Quarterback scares me a little bit, but is he worth a third-round pick? Maybe, if you get the right depth at wide receiver. It depends on who's available. I may fade him here. Higgins, why would I get the wide receiver 2 on the team here when Chase is gone in the third round? I'm just not doing it. I'm aiming high on the depth charts, guys. That is the secret. Now, a lot of people don't tell you this. They're just like, hey, grab Higgins. Let's look at this. Higgins is ranked ahead of Amari Cooper here, when easily Amari Cooper is slated to be the wide receiver 1 on his team. I think people are sleeping on Cooper, and I like him in the 4th round. So you're getting a wide receiver 1 here with Cooper. You're getting a wide receiver 1 potentially with Judy and Sutton as I go down, way down this list. Amon St. Brown is the wide receiver 1 theoretically here. I keep going, right? Adam Thielen could be the wide receiver 1. Christian Kirk ranked 40th on the consensus amongst wide receivers, wide receiver 1. Drake London's going to be the wide receiver 1 at Atlanta. Man, what a steal he's going to be this year. So there's all these wide receiver 1s later, and there's tons. I can keep going here, right? Tons of wide receiver depth and value. Why would I get this makes no sense to me. Why would I get Higgins and Jalen Waddle, right? Why would I get Jalen Waddle and Higgins here, who are clearly the wide receiver 2s on their team earlier in the drafts, okay? It makes zero sense to me. And here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm actually going to put this on my story mode because I want to highlight this moment here. So I'm going to go on my Instagram here, guys, for a second. Don't mind me, YouTubers. I got to let Instagram story know here, all right? So one sec here as I'm recording. All right, guys, I'm doing a mock draft here on YouTube, and I'm here on the 3rd round, and I want to notice something here, okay, guys? Take a look at the wide receivers that are available. And I'm on YouTube, guys, recording this as I'm recording here on Instagram. So you see T. Higgins and Jalen Waddle are ranked ahead of a ton of other potential wide receiver 1s going down here, including Drake London, who's a sleeper way down the list. But Amari Cooper is there sitting here. He's the wide receiver 1. Pittman's the wide receiver 1. Then you've got a guy like Higgins and Waddle ranked ahead of guys that could be wide receiver 1. So I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of depth here on YouTube, guys, if you're watching. As I'm recording the podcast here, Instagram, there's a ton of depth at wide receiver. And again, you can clearly see that Waddle and Higgins are ranked ahead of wide receiver 1s, and they're the wide receiver 2s on their team. Guys, tons of depth at wide receiver. It makes no sense. Don't listen to the Kinshipses here, guys. The rankings are way off. Higgins and Waddle, fade them, aim for wide receiver 1s. And again, we're in the 3rd round doing a mock draft. This video is coming out later, Instagram. Click on the link and subscribe in the bio. We're talking mock draft. So yeah, I had to do that video, guys, for my Instagram people. I'm just putting this in my story mode here. Stick with me. First mock draft. So anyway, I had to tell my story mode people there. Okay, on Instagram. So let's get back to this. Again, you guys get the point I'm trying to make here is that, like, they're wide receiver 2s. I'm not drafting wide receiver 2s as my first wide receiver. Does this make sense, guys? And again, I explain this. If this is making sense to you, and you're like, wow, Joe is actually making sense, and the Kinshipses are way out to lunch. Get the 16-round drafts, which you'll be light years out of the competition. You will fade Higgins. You will fade Waddle. Okay? Now, if you draft him in the 3rd round and Tyreek Hill gets hurt, right? Waddle becomes the 1, boom, you just hit the jackpot potentially, right? But he's still got 2 at quarterback, right? So I'm getting so you're saying, well, Joe, what do you do here? Do you go another running back here? I could go Breece Hall, or I could go Zeke. I'm going to probably go Zeke here and go really robust RB. Quarterbacks I don't even look at till later. Tight ends, the only tight ends I'm really interested in are Mark Andrews and Kelsey. Pitts could have a big year, but I still like Drake London for value a little bit later. So I'm looking here at wide receiver, and man, I mean, Pittman, he might not come around, but I still like Alec Pierce later, but it's nice to have both because you got Matt Ryan throwing the ball, and if you get Pittman, you're definitely guaranteeing your wide receiver 1. But I still think there's so much depth at wide receiver. I'm just going to go here, and I'm just going to go ahead with either Zeke Elliott or Breece Hall. I think I'm pretty safe with Barkley and Henry here. This just anchors my team with Zeke Elliott. I think he has a better year than last year, but I'm going to go with the upside of Breece Hall here just for the heck of it and load up. Now I'm set at running back. I got 3 workhorses with minimal committee. Now Breece Hall, like I said, he's got Michael Carter there. Could be an issue. But I'm okay with that. Now I'm going to look at wide receiver. By the way, Zeke Elliott, as you can see here, fell to the 4th round. You're going to see. So let's walk through round 3. Breece Hall, like I said, gamble. These guys went Nick Chubb, Josh Allen. And as you can see, guys, what the consensus will do and what your league mates are going to do is they're going to go ahead after I made that exact point here. Waddle comes off in the 3rd. A.J. Brown, which I don't trust at all this year. I didn't trust him last year. I told you he'd bust. A.J. Brown was top 10 last year, and he finished where? 32nd amongst wide receivers in PPR. And he's still in the top 10. It's the audacity. It's the saving face of the mainstream sheep. T. Higgins and Waddle have no business in the 3rd round. They're wide receiver 2s. You should be aiming for wide receiver 1s. Doesn't matter if the ADP states that Michael Pittman is below them, okay? So Kyle Pitts, Antonio Gibson, Deontay Johnson, Cam Akers. Again, Deontay's a bit of a risk. But as you can see, take a look at the 3rd round, guys, okay? There's a lot of question marks here. Kyle Pitts, I mean, I think he gets more volume this year. Gibson in a committee. See, this guy right here, guys, where is he here? This guy went 3 wide receivers, this guy at number 9. He went Jefferson, Diggs, and Deontay. Then he went David Montgomery. So he still got value at David Montgomery round 4. I'm surprised Montgomery slipped to 4, so he's lucky he even got him. If you look at here, guys, Antonio Gibson as your running back 2. He went Cook as 1. I don't trust the situation at all. Debo's going to bust. And then he went Michael Thomas with his 4th pick. You know, I'm a little concerned there as well. A lot of question marks on that offense. So again, round 3, let's recap. Breece Hall, Nick Chubb, Josh Allen, very early here for a quarterback. I like Josh Allen in round 6 where I was getting him the past couple years. I like Josh Allen when people thought, the mainstream thought Baker Mayfield was better than Josh Allen. I love those days. And this is what we're doing, guys. We're thinking outside the box. We're thinking ahead of the curve, right? So you're finding those studs before the mainstream sheep do, okay? So I liked them back then. So you know, Mike Evans here, 4th pick, 3rd round. Waddle, A.J. Brown, Aaron Jones, T. Higgins, Kyle Pitts, Antonio Gibson, Deontay Johnson, Cam Akers. What a disaster here. Round 4, they start off with DJ Moore, who it makes no sense. DJ Moore has done nothing for years. Again, the sheep just like ranking him high. I don't get it. David Montgomery, Michael Thomas could bounce back. They've got Chris Olave, and then they've got Jarvis Landry, who they just picked up off free agency. It's crowded there. I was liking Michael Thomas before the Olave draft pick, and I was liking Michael Thomas before the Jarvis Landry acquisition. Now I'm not liking Michael Thomas so much, okay? If Drew Brees comes back and Jarvis Landry breaks his leg and Michael Thomas comes back to full health, I'm all in on Michael Thomas. But as of right now, suspect with 4th round value, you know, not bad, but it's just too much of a wide receiver committee. Terry McLaurin, I don't trust that offense at all. Michael Pittman, you know, again, he slipped to 4th round. I think that's pretty good value. I'd like to combo him with Alec Pierce. Matt Ryan's going to throw for a ton of yardage. Love Michael Pittman and the opportunity there. Josh Jacobs, again, you know, safe and steady, slow and steady wins the race. That type of performance, I think you're getting Jacobs. You're not getting at a huge explosive type of year out of him. Godwin, again, you know, you're getting a wide receiver 2 here after Evans is gone. Godwin, remember, if you guys remember, he had that big year. I think it was 2019, and everyone's like, yeah, or 2020. Either way, one of those years, I think it was 2019, he had that huge year, and everyone's like, yeah, you got to draft Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in the top 10 picks, and they both finished outside the top 10 in 2020 and the 2020. So it's like, you know, you're rolling the dice here, guys, with either one of these guys on who the wide receiver 1 is. Again, Brady spreads the ball around. It's really suspect there, okay? DK Metcalf here. Again, new offense, new quarterback. Man, it's hard to trust. Amari Cooper, I actually like him. I actually like him. You know, if Watson starts, I think, you know, he's a wide receiver 1, 4th round. That's value. Cortland Sutton, you know, his ADP has kind of gone up a little bit over Judy. People liking him since the arrest with Judy, but I think Judy should be back, possibly could face a suspension. We don't know at the time of this recording, but Sutton, Russell Wilson, I think that'll be a good connection. And then Brandon Cooks, this makes no sense to me with Houston. I really don't trust Houston at all. And then it's our pick right now, okay? Here in comes, you know, our 4th pick. And look who's sitting there, Zeke Elliott. And I can literally get Zeke Elliott, and I'm loaded at running backs. Imagine that. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall, and Zeke Elliott. All four could be round 1 picks because Zeke Elliott could finish top 10. Breece Hall could explode and be the rookie that everybody's saying he is, this amazing, explosive rookie. Saquon Barkley has a bounce back year, and Derrick Henry. We're looking at 4 RB1s. Now, again, this is where fantasy is about perspective to some degree, right? Some people could look at that and be like, oh my God, Saquon's injury prone. Derrick Henry got hurt. He's old and washed up. Breece Hall is in a committee with, and he's on the Jets. It's all about perspective, right? It's like half glass full, half glass empty, right? But the way I'm viewing it and the reasons that I'm viewing it make sense to me, and they're factual, right? There isn't something that doesn't make sense. Derrick Henry finishing top 10 amongst running backs in many categories in 8 games. Due for a bounce back. The injuries happen. Knock on wood. He's not going to get hurt again. I just knocked on wood. Bounce back. Saquon Barkley, right? 2 years removed off his injury. Improved O-line, right? He's going to be the focal piece of that offense. Explosive. Contract year. It only makes sense, right? Breece Hall, top prospect running back coming out of the draft. Getting him for 3rd round, not drafting a 1st-round pick out of him, right? So the reasons that I have are better. So let's compare to another team, right? Let's go with Cooper Kupp's team right here. Cooper Kupp, decline. It doesn't make any sense to me. Finished on top last year. It's very unlikely. It's very rare that a wide receiver finishes on top again. We saw it, Michael Thomas. He busted. He had the 2019 year, fell off completely the year after. Now you can make a case that Antonio Brown had consecutive good years. Yeah, because he had Big Ben. And Big Ben was really good at consistently feeding him with targets. And I think Antonio Brown was a far better receiver than Cooper Kupp. I have my reasons. Kelsey round 2 here he went. All right, then he went Aaron Jones and Jacobs, right? Oh, man, I mean, Dylan's going to be there, right? So there's so many reasons, right, why I went with my guys. And again, everything is solidified, right? This could have gone, I could have went, Pittman here, or something like that. I could have went Montgomery here. So many different combinations. And in the 16 rounds, I explain exactly who to get in each round. So we're on the 4th pick. We're going to wrap this up. Let's take a look at who the wide receivers are available here. And again, I could go Judy here, who could have an astronomical year, but as my wide receiver 1, pending that, a little suspect there. Darnell Mooney, could be safe and solid, but not overly exciting. Marquise Brown could be good with a Hopkins suspension in Arizona, could blow up. Amon-Ra St. Brown could be solid again, but as your wide receiver 1, it's very suspect here. Adam Thielen. Now, here's who I like here. Where is he? Where is Drake London? Is he down here? How is Drake London, man? Look at this. I can wait. Get Drake London. There's Michael Gallup. There's still wide receiver 1. Treylon Burks could be the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee. Christian Kirk, right? Gabriel Davis, he's a wide receiver 2 on his team, but still has a ton of ceiling. Adam Thielen could be a wide receiver 1 on his team, right? Who else? Hunter Renfrow, I don't think the volume's going to be there for him. Rashad Bateman, wide receiver 1 on his team. Hard to trust Lamar. Elijah Moore could be the wide receiver 1 on his team. I know they drafted a rookie. So again, it's getting a little dicey here at wide receiver. But who's to say Adams is going to have an astronomical year? Who's to say, Tyreek Hill is going to have a great year? Who's to say Deebo Samuel is going to have the same year, right? Very hard to trust. That's why there's tons of volume. And there's a ton of other rookies later, guys, sleepers, breakouts that I give you guys later, right? I could still secure a wide receiver here since I've got my three running backs. So I can go Darnell Mooney and play it super safe here. Or I could go Zeke Elliott. Okay, I'm going to go back-to-back picks. So I got back-to-back. So I'm definitely securing Zeke Elliott. And you know what? I'm going to reach here, and I'm going to go Drake London. No, actually, you know what? The Chiefs are going to let Drake London fall. So I'm going to probably leave him. He's, 45th? I think he comes back around. So I'm going to get a secure and safe wide receiver here. Again, I can go Judy, but again, the suspension there is a little turning me off a little bit. But I can go Marquise. Let's go Marquise Brown, because I think he's just going to get that volume and he's safe. But it's round 5. And believe me, guys, I'm going to be confident. And you're saying, well, Joe, you're very light on wide receiver. Trust me, like I said, there's a ton of value at wide receiver. People said the same thing last year. Joe, you're light on wide receiver, but I had Cooper Kupp in the 4th round. Remember that. And they said, you're light on wide receiver. Then I got Jamar Chase later. You're light on wide receiver. I got Amon-Ra St. Brown later. Was I really light if I waited to get Cooper Kupp in the 4th round and then later got Jamar Chase last year and then went Amon-Ra St. Brown? Just 3 examples. And I think I had Mooney on my bench as well and other wide receivers. So was I light last year? No. It was anticipating that Jamar Chase was going to have a great year. It was anticipating and loading up on Amon-Ra St. Brown, other wide receivers, right? And Cooper Kupp, getting him when everyone said Robert Woods, right? As a wide receiver 1. And you're in that similar situation where you have situations where, people are drafting, Mike Evans ahead of Godwin, but who's to say Godwin can't surpass him? People are drafting, let's give you that, Tyreek Hill ahead of Waddle. Who's to say Waddle, with the rapport that he's got with Tua, isn't the wide receiver 1? People are drafting, Justin Jefferson in the 1st round. Who's to say Adam Thielen doesn't bounce back and have himself 20 touchdown campaign? Who's to say? So what I'm saying, guys, is with wide receiver, you get value, load up on those running backs early, and you will be solid. Now, I've just given you 4 rounds in full, almost 5 rounds here in full detail. So if this is making sense to you, and this isn't just like, hey, I'm drafting based on ADP, make sure you guys get the 16-round draft, so you should subscribe to this channel and stop listening to other people's podcasts. It's not going to help you. All right, guys? Subscribe, thumbs up. Those are the first 4 rounds using the Kinshipsis draft simulator here. And make sure you guys are subscribed, thumbs up, and get that 16-round draft solution to crush your leagues. All right, guys, I'm out. I appreciate you. We'll talk soon. And click subscribe and get 16 rounds. I'm out.